The following is a hockey podcast out of Vancouver and Surrey, British Columbia. It'll only consist of a lot of puck talk and even more BS, or in actual words, banter and satire. Enjoy, and as always, go Canucks go.
You're Locked On Canucks, your daily podcast on the Vancouver Canucks. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hey, welcome to another episode of Locked On Canucks. My name is Trevor Beggs, co-host of Locked On Canucks and also a Canucks Raider currently with a Daily Hive, Vancouver. Before we dive into today's episode, we got to thank you for tuning into Locked On Canucks. You want to know why? Because it is your Canucks every damn day. We're part of that Locked On Podcast Network. They're doing the most for sports fans across the world. And for our show, if you haven't done so already, make sure you go subscribe and like on YouTube and go leave a 5-star review wherever you listen to podcasts. Hey, we're not here without you, but we're also not here without the sponsors. And today's episode is brought to you by Game Time. Go download that Game Time app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONNHL for $20 off your first purchase. It's fun being a Vancouver Canucks fan again because for years and years, you know what, I know what, this team might have had some exciting players, but they weren't very good. And, I was reminiscing on our conversation from last season with the legend himself, Blake Creamer, fantasy hockey guru. And, there were some optimistic projections about the Vancouver Canucks. And I think most of those Canucks smashed through those projections. What's in store for the Canucks this year? Which Canucks are going to kill it in fantasy hockey? Which sleeper Canucks should you be potentially drafting or watching as the season goes on? Let's get into that with the legend himself, Blake Creamer. Man, oh man, what a week for me. First and foremost, Kyle gets his voice back. So, that's my Viagra right there. And now I'm not going to be able to put it down because we got the creamiest and the dreamiest with us, host of the Cream of the Crop Fantasy Hockey Podcast and also co-host of the Apples and Ginos Fantasy Hockey Podcast. This guy is a legend and he's with us today. Blake Creamer, Creams and Dreams, the creamiest, the dreamiest. What's going on, man?
Buddy, we're getting to biz. What an intro. Oh my God. And then, like just coming from you, like beautiful man, beautiful beard, great head of hair, and a collared shirt. Oh my God. I mean, this is, like I said, this is why you guys have YouTube as well as podcasts, because we need to see this stuff. Yourself as well, Kyle. I mean, damn. Yeah. Probably the most handsome duo out there. I got to say that.
We get that a lot, man. We get that a lot. And, we've had our ups and downs with the people, they don't know what to say about us or how they feel about us, but it is what it is. Because at the end of the day, we're all Canucks. On today's episode of Locked On Canucks, we're going to be talking about like 99% of these Canucks, maybe all the Canucks. Who knows? Maybe we want to know how many goals Kiefer Sherwood is going to score. But let's make some projections. Let's go through your mind. Let's go through the data, and let's talk about how many points these Canucks players are going to get this season in a big season, a season in which the pressure is finally. It feels like it's real. It's real. Like, how are they going to respond to being good? That's a big question. How is Quinn Hughes going to respond to picking up 90-plus points? Do you feel as if that's going to be the standard for this guy moving forward, or do you think he's going to take his foot off the pedal and wait for the playoffs to put up all his points? What is Quinn Hughes doing this season?
Yeah, it's a good question. I mean, just the Canucks in general. I've been listening to you guys all off season here as well. Like, everything went so well last year, didn't it? Like, they just flew close to the sun. They don't even care, right? But I mean, everything was done off of massive efficiency, wasn't it? Like, I'm digging into the numbers, just basic numbers. Their shooting percentage at even strength was number 1 in the league. They converted at the number 1 rate, and they had the 4th best save percentage as well. And they were 5th overall in goals for. So what the hell? But they were only 22nd overall in shot attempts per 60. So you see what's going on here. There's some things. Those are some red flags that we look at here. But in terms of Quinn Hughes, like, I think he's good to go. I mean, this he's an Adonis. He's a beauty. And one of the things I like about Quinn Hughes, like, I just read this interview. I don't know if you guys saw this as well, but he was just talking about his potential to reach 20 goals. He's like, yeah, I'm going to score 20 goals this year. No problem. Or you said, I'm paraphrasing, but like, just the confidence. And he talked about, potentially getting 100 points as well. Like, he's going to try. I think there's a potential there, but in terms of what I've got him for, just on my Canucks projections before we get into all of them, I did regress them down just a little bit because I'm expecting everything went so well last year. It might not go quite as well this year. That said, Quinn Hughes is a beast. I got him for 14 goals, 73 assists, 87 points. And, you know, with 36 of those points on the power play. So I just love Quinn Hughes. And I feel like he just won the Norris, but in terms of like, fantasy production, like he's not the best defenseman out there for fantasy, which is really weird to say because he's the number one defenseman in the league, but he's probably the 4th or 5th, maybe even the 6th defenseman off the board. So I got 87 points for Quinn Hughes. What do you guys think about that?
I'm kind of curious about the other guys ahead of Hughes because I think one of the big knocks on Hughes was the goal scoring, right? The lack of goal scoring means that he's not quite going to be in that upper echelon where some of the other defensemen like, you know, Cale Makar and Roman Josi are. Yeah. But now he's scoring goals. So why exactly is he kind of 5th or 6th on that on the pecking order now?
What a great question. Oh my God. Well, one of the main things that kind of keeps Quinn Hughes down a little bit is his peripheral stats. And when I talk about peripheral stats, I'm talking about hits and blocks. And most fantasy leagues, they count those to some degree, whether you're in a points league and those categories have a little bit of points value, or you're in a category league and they have full value. Quinn Hughes doesn't do that. He's an old dancing boy. I mean, in 82 games last year, this guy had 29 hits. Buddy, what are you doing? Step into somebody, Quinn. But he doesn't have to do that. But 55 blocks as well. I mean, for a defenseman, that's borderline criminal, Quinn. Okay. I mean, but that's why he's got other beefers out there getting the biz doing that. He's not required to do that. So that's one of the main reasons. Plus, Quinn Hughes last year upped his shot total to a ridiculous level. So I'm not saying that's not sustainable, but it's the first time he's ever done that. Right. So we have to just keep that in our mind, right? He bumped his shots way up and he scored a bunch too. Can he do it again? I think he can. And he's saying that he can in that interview. I love that. But, we got to be a little bit tentative there. I think guys like Cale Makar, Roman Josi, Evan Bouchard, even Rasmus Dahlin, these guys are all ahead of Quinn Hughes in the pecking order for fantasy. Not in real life. This guy's the number one defenseman in real life. And I'm here for that.
Yeah, I'm here for that too. And I'm also here for him beating regression just based off of individual desire. And if this guy's saying that he wants to quote unquote score more goals and get to 100, and I've been training with Roman Josi, and I don't want to tell you about his secrets, but I'm all into getting better. I feel as if that in itself can beat regression. If we're going to talk about Quinn Hughes, though, we got to talk about Philip Hronek too. I think this guy is so mysterious when it comes to like fantasy hockey or any type of like statistical projections because of how his second half went. And now you're saying that Quinn Hughes, he's still going to put up 87 to 90 points, be that guy. If that's the case, how good is Philip Hronek looking as a fantasy player this season?
Yeah, another great question. I mean, to me, Hronek last year definitely overachieved. It's not even a question to me. Like this guy got 48 points in 81 games just by being out on the ice with Quinn Hughes, right? It's different. Like his situation in Detroit before we came over here, he was leaned on more as an offensive option. But here with Quinn Hughes is the offensive option, right? Hronek is holding him down to some degree, right? So, Quinn Hughes will take off on the rush and Hronek is the one that kind of comes to the center and stays back, right? So I've projected Hronek for 41 points after getting 48 last year. Again, like the whole team was massively efficient and Hronek was a beneficiary of that, right? And so if we're saying that that's going to come down a little bit, I think Hronek's point total will come down a bit, and he's not expected to do that, right? But the good thing about Hronek for fantasy is if Quinn Hughes ever goes down or gets injured, Hronek is the next man up. He's going to be that guy running that power play one, and he can absolutely do that. Like in 2022-23, this guy got 16 power play points, which is pretty damn nice. So that all said, he's a surly, salty old barnacle, but we love him. We're glad he's here with the team, but I wouldn't expect too much from him for fantasy production.
A salty old barnacle. Speaking of that, man, Hronek's got a great beard, man. Blake, creams and dreams. You got that same kind of reddish beard, man. You ever thought about growing out Hronek style?
You know what? I grow it to a certain level and then it just stops and then individual hairs grow out. So then I just look a little, my wife, she can't look me in the eye. It's really unfortunate. My kids cry when they see me. So yeah, I got to keep it to a reasonable level. Plus I'm getting salt and pepper in here, buddy. It's not the worst thing in the world. I'm distinguished. Obviously we talked about my age prior to recording here. So yeah, that's the situation there. I don't know. I'm happy with this. I might just go stash here soon. I think I'm a dad, I think I can get away with that. Beggs, are you with me on this?
Yeah, I think you could rock the stash for sure. The stash, not quite my thing. It's
dang. Okay.
I got those rosy cheeks, man, and then too much bare face. I'll definitely look like a full blown pervert. But you know what?
We want to avoid that. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. That makes me more of a degenerate than anyone else in this Vancouver Canucks team. You mentioned that Quinn Hughes isn't a beefer. One guy you mentioned being a beefer when we talked last year was JT Miller.
Oh, yeah.
100 points last season. And, you know, I kind of want to lump JT Miller and Elias Pettersson together here a little bit because we were debating about this on Locked On Canucks, your Canucks every day, earlier this week. Between JT Miller and Elias Pettersson, who do you think has the more productive season for the Vancouver Canucks?
I think for fantasy purposes, it's going to be JT Miller all day. And I love Petey. Don't get me wrong. Like, I love all these guys. I'm a mega homer for the Canucks. So don't worry there. But yeah, I think in terms of what they're bringing to the table, JT Miller he's like you said, he's a beefer. This guy had 217 hits last year. He's the anti Quinn Hughes. Quinn Hughes is like, I'm getting out of the way. Miller, can you go over and just hit that guy? He's like, yeah, no problem. Bang. You know, and he just smokes a guy. I don't know. Beautiful mustache on Miller as well. But yeah, like 32 goals, 63 assists, and 95 points is what I have JT Miller for. Over 200 shots, 186 hits, 38 power play points. He's filling all those categories. He did have, like, again, there's some signs of regression here. And I think I like what you said, Kyle, about Quinn Hughes and, maybe not regressing because he's just that guy. He's that dude, right? And he's a young guy. He's on an upward trajectory where it's not like Miller is on a downward trajectory, but he's going to be 32 this year. Like, how much longer can he sustain these 100-point paces off of massive efficiency, right? Like 19% shooting percentage last year, highest of his career. Also had the highest on-ice shooting percentage of his career, right? And I think both of those should probably come down, but he's a great power play performer. He drives the offense like nobody's business, all right? And I'm interested to see what they do, the Canucks in their top six there. Like, just as an aside, who do you guys see playing with Miller and Boeser on that top line, and then maybe with Petey?
All right, we're going to get back to this conversation with the creamiest and the dreamiest Blake Creamer in a bit. But before we do that, we got to shout out our friends over at Indeed. All right, if you're not going to win a year's salary playing fantasy hockey, you better go find a job on Indeed. And if you're an employer, you need Indeed because Indeed is the matching and hiring platform with over 350 million global monthly visitors, according to Indeed data. And they got a matching engine so fast, and it helps you find quality candidates fast. Ditch the busy work and use Indeed for scheduling, screening, and messaging so you can connect with candidates faster, okay? And Indeed just doesn't help you hire faster. 93% of employers agree Indeed delivers the highest quality matches compared to other job sites, according to a recent Indeed survey. Leveraging over 140 million qualifications and preferences every day, Indeed's matching engine is constantly learning from your preferences, so the more you use Indeed, the better it gets. That's technology, baby. Join more than 3.5 million businesses worldwide that use Indeed to hire great talent fast. Listeners of the show, guess what? You'll get a $75 sponsored job credit. Wow. To get your jobs more visibility at Indeed.com/lockedon. Just go to Indeed.com/lockedon right now and support our show by saying you heard about Indeed on this very podcast. Indeed.com/lockedon. Terms and conditions apply. Need to hire? You need Indeed. You know the deal. If you're an everyday or you're an occasional listener, there's no other place you should be buying tickets aside from Game Time because they got that lowest price guarantee, baby. In simple words, you're not going to find a better deal anywhere else. And if you do find a better deal somewhere else, Game Time is going to credit you with 110% of the price difference. Let's go, baby. They're bringing it just like Blake Creamer and Kyle Bowen. Let's go. And Game Time, they're stepping it up, man, okay? As if it could get any better. Now they got this new feature called Game Time Picks that makes getting tickets for your favorite live events even easier. Game Time Picks filters out the fluff to show you only incredible deals on great seats so you don't have to waste time searching through thousands of tickets, all right? So go use that gap because they got the seat views, the lowest price guarantee, and the Game Time ticket coverage. Go take the guesswork out of buying tickets with Game Time. Go download that Game Time app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONNHL for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account, redeem code LOCKEDONNHL for $20 off. Download Game Time today. What time is it? Game time.
Just as an aside, who do you guys see playing with Miller and Boeser on that top line, and then maybe with Petey?
Yeah,
Mm.
so
You
I've
guys have
mentioned this
thoughts?
before about who I want to see with Miller and who I think is going to be with Miller. Look, I want to see Dak and Garland get the shot with Miller. I think Dak and Garland have earned that spot up the lineup. I think they are a nice fit with JT Miller. The line with some size, some skill, and you can still move those guys up the lineup and have a really dangerous bottom six. What I think is going to happen is it's going to be Boeser and Miller. I would be shocked if they split them apart, and I think it's going to be Danton Heinen probably is the front runner to get a shot there, with maybe one of Sprong or Höglander being kind of like the secondary option to kind of juice some offense into that top six. With Pettersson, I think it's going to be DeBrusk and Höglander. I would like to see it be DeBrusk and Boeser.
Oh
Yeah, and you know what? I think Danton Heinen playing on that top line with Miller and Boeser, UFA Brock too. Like this is a new version of Brock that we're not ready for because I think he's going to go off. But I think Heinen can be a more efficient offensive player than Pius Suter was, and Suter was good around the net, and he was optimal. Like he was there, he was present. But I feel as if he may be a tad or two steps behind Heinen's offensive abilities, and that's not saying a lot about Danton Heinen's. I'm just saying that he's just a better Pius Suter, especially on the wing. So I think there could be some more goals there. And we talked about UFA Brock. I don't know how much you put how much stock you put into like the UFA years when it comes to fantasy projections, but like we saw what Sam Reinhart did last year. I feel like something similar is going to happen with Brock Boeser, a player that has a lot to prove. He said it himself. He's gone through so much in his career. Now he's a UFA. He's playing with one of the best centers in hockey. And I know he had 40 goals last year, and that's like his best season ever. And he had a lot of empty net. Like he filled in the Kuzmenko role. But I think there is this hidden aura around Brock Boeser that we haven't seen in quite some time. I think we're going to get some of that, efficiency. I'm going to knock in some empty netters. I'm going to be in front of the net. But you guys remember rookie Brock Boeser? I'm bringing that guy back for this UFA season. What do you think he's going to do this season alongside JT Miller?
Hell yeah. Yeah, I'm into that. I remember talking with you guys last year, and we talked about Brock being a 30-goal, 30-assist guy, especially if he got power play one, and he smashed it. So I love to see that. I think I agree with a lot of what you're saying there, Kyle. I think this guy maybe has another gear, right? He's 27 years old, so he's good to go. He's got that spot on the power play one locked down, and that's really key here. And that's not even in question, right? There is a fourth forward spot on the power play up for grabs, but Boeser is going to be there. So his floor is rock solid. Again, similar to JT Miller, massive efficiency with Brock Boeser. Like he shot almost 20% last year. I mean, who does he think he is? Andre Kuzmenko? No. All right. But they both have beautiful heads of hair. I mean, this guy, he's got fresher lettuce than a farmer's market. You guys know what I'm talking about. But yeah, for Boeser, I think he's going to have another great year though. And I really do believe that Boeser and Miller are going to be together, and Petey and DeBrusk. Those are the two duos, I think. And then we know that third line, which we could talk about a little bit later. But in terms of Boeser's production, it's going to be, I think, 33 goals, 36 assists for a very nice 69 points. Woo. And I think when you can project for 69 points, you do it. Right? Yeah. Am I right, boys? Yeah.
If you're gonna project for 69 points, you can either get 69 or 96. That's what I'm hearing, bro.
That's what I'm hearing. If Boeser gets 96 points, I'll get a Boeser tattoo on my neck. All right. That's I'm putting that out there right now. That's confirmed. All right. You boys with me? You want to get in on this?
I'm down.
Oh, sweet.
Maybe not the neck. I need to think about it, man. I'm a bit of a biatch, so time to get back on that. I'll do it. Okay. We're all doing okay. I'm doing it.
Hell yeah. All right. That's a verbal contract.
Let's go. All right. So, one of the big additions to this team in free agency was Jake DeBrusk. Now, I've been hyping this guy up this offseason. Wasn't a huge fan of the signing at the time, but as I dive into it a bit more, I'm getting pretty excited for what Jake DeBrusk can do with some legitimate NHL centers. Curious where you have DeBrusk at. And the second part I'll ask is, do you think DeBrusk has a chance at having, a JT Miller-like impact, like JT Miller's first year in Vancouver?
Yeah, I love that, Trevor. I think I've compared him to JT Miller before, since the signing. Not like he's going to pop off the way JT Miller has, but it's a similar kind of story, right? It's a guy with, a high draft pick with offensive acumen that hasn't really gotten a spot on any team that, that he was with, like Boston, right? He didn't really get that prime deployment. And with Vancouver here, that spot is open, right? There's a spot in the top six. There's a spot on power play one, and this is a good power play here in Vancouver. So I really think that he's going to slot right in with Pettersson, and then on power play one, he's my guy for power play one there instead of Connor Garland. So I'm expecting a career high from Jake DeBrusk, honestly. And it's not going to be anything crazy, but I've got him for 31 goals, 33 assists for 64 points. And I feel it's not even crazy to me. Like when I dig in on the numbers on this guy, he really shows out in those metrics that I like to look at when I'm doing fantasy projections, right? So rate stats, so shots on goal per 60 at even strength. This guy's crushing. He's a big time shot generator. And then scoring chances that he generates for himself. He's really good at that as well. So yeah, he's been inefficient so far in his career. That's going to change because you're coming to Vancouver, buddy. And that's what we do here. All we do is put the biscuit in the basket. And I think, And I think that, he's going to have a career high. Maybe that's a little spicy, but he's never played with line mates like this, consistently like this, and then on the power play like this. So yeah, I'm a big fan of Jake DeBrusk as a sleeper for fantasy this year.
Whoa. No, I like that. I like the positivity. And just again, for an aside purpose for both of you guys, like, how do you think stylistically those two are going to work together? Like, what do you see? With Brock and JT, you see a lot of like bump and grind. Let's get some gritty goals. Let's work the boards. Let's get it back to the points. Let's find an open look. Like, what type of chemistry are we going to see between, again, Pettersson and DeBrusk? Like, I'm actually curious and also excited for it.
Oh, yeah, big time. You know what DeBrusk brings to the table that Pettersson really hasn't had in the past? He's a north-south player, so he brings speed on the wing, so that's one thing. And then he's a great forechecker. That's something that he hasn't had consistently throughout his career. So, Pettersson is a puck possession guy. He's the guy going to be skating the puck into the zone, or if the puck's dumped in, DeBrusk is the one going to go get it, and he's going to get it to Pettersson. So I think Pettersson is going to get a lot more puck touches just by being attached to Jake DeBrusk. So I think it's actually a really good fit. That makes sense to me. I mean, Jake DeBrusk could see some time on that top line too with Miller and Boeser, and I think that would be a nice piece as well. But they went out and signed at Jake DeBrusk and Daniel Sprong, in my opinion, and Danton Heinen, so that Pettersson could have someone to play with, right? Because we can't be doing, and I like Niels Höglander too, so he should take a step this year as well. But we can't go out there with Ilya Mikheyev and Niels Höglander on the regular and whoever else, Pius Suter. Like, no, we need someone like DeBrusk, and he's really going to fill that role there, and I think it's going to be good stuff.
Yeah, you mentioned that Petey hasn't played a lot with a lot of guys like Jake DeBrusk. I would say that he hasn't played with a guy like Jake DeBrusk consistently since JT Miller was on his wing.
Yeah, we like that lotto line. Not too shabby.
It wasn't too bad, was it?
We love it, man.
Okay, we love it. You talked about Jake DeBrusk being a sleeper. Maybe let's rip through some. We've kind of gone through the stars on the team. Maybe aside from Thatcher Demko, who again, if he's healthy, should be one of the best damn goalies in the NHL. What other sleepers would you have in the Vancouver Canucks? Like, we haven't really touched much on Dakota Joshua, who's going to be a category monster, I imagine. I had him in fantasy for a bit last year. Yeah. Garland, Höglander, Sprong. Maybe even a Carson Soucy breakout. Like, who else is on your radar as a potential sleeper?
Oh my God.
For your Vancouver Canucks.
Soucy breakout. You know what? I'm here for that take as well. No, I actually didn't even project Carson Soucy. That's his level of fantasy for me, but that's fine. They've got some nice pieces here. And again, this team, like we said, again, very efficient team. Even if it falls off, they're still very efficient. So I like Daniel Sprong. I like that signing. This is a guy that really shows out in the metrics that we like. I mean, per minute, Daniel Sprong is nuts. Like, he's a big time shot generator and chance generator. Like, just check this out. Last year, just the whole season, Daniel Sprong was 40th overall at shots on goal per 60. 40th. So he's beaten he beat everyone on the Canucks in terms of the amount of shots that he takes on a regular basis. And then individual scoring chances, he's in the top 100 in the league. Daniel Sprong, I call him the Slinky. Oh, yeah, the Springy Sprong. He does that. And plus, he's friends with Petey. So I think there could be like a little Kuzmenko, Pettersson stuff, like a little bit of synergy there. I think it's going to be Jake DeBrusk, Pettersson, and Sprong on that second line. And I'm here for it. I've got Sprong for, I don't know, I got it right here. 48 points. That's a bit spicy, but he's done it before. This guy, he shows out in really limited minutes. So I was a big fan of that signing. He can't play defense, so that stinks. They're obviously going to have to teach him how to, forecheck and play a structured system like Tocchet has. I do like that. Connor Garland as well. I mean, I think they're going to run it back with that third line, right? So Connor Garland, Teddy Bluger, Dakota Joshua. I like that. Connor Garland was amazing last year. Like, what the hell? In the playoffs too, this guy's a Swiss Army knife. He can play up and down the lineup. Connor Garland was the best shooter on the Canucks. Fun fact, he shot more than anybody else on the Canucks on a per 60 basis. So he's really good at that. He gets a lot of chances. He just, he's not a very efficient player. He doesn't really have that acumen, but he's a dog. Connor Garland in the corners. I love watching that. I could watch that all day. So I love Connor Garland. I've projected him for 48 points. And then last one I'll give you, I'll talk about Dakota Joshua. I've got him for 36 points, 17 goals, 19 assists. But if you're drafting Dakota Joshua, you're drafting him for the bangs. All right. He bangs and he does that. He bangs all day, and he's great at that. So he was injured last year. Otherwise, he would have been one of the league leaders in hits. And plus, he's just a beauty. We remember what we saw in the playoffs with that guy. So I find it hard to talk Yang on any of the Canucks this year. They do this all the time, don't they? They get us excited, and then what are we going to see here? Some garbage year? Oh, please.
I don't know. I think honestly, it's fun to do this, and we're getting towards the end of the episode. I just want to thank you again for just bringing the energy and bringing some of the pizzazz. And as a hockey nerd, I just love listening to you talk. So if you're listening to this right now and watching this on our feed, do us all a favor. Go hit the link in the bio. Go follow Blake. Go follow all his shows. This is a guy you need to listen to this season when it comes to talking hockey. But at the end of the day, I just want to talk about, again, Tocchet's philosophy change and how he may be empowering his players to be more offensive and not just lean on efficiency. And I wonder what that does to this team. I wonder if let's say a guy like Elias Pettersson does break out this season, how much more relaxed the rest of the forwards are, / how much more swagger they play with, knowing that, we're one of the best offensive teams in the league. We've got Elias Pettersson doing his thing. And I don't know if we got you to project Elias Pettersson's. I don't know if I forgot or just zoned out there, but it's even interesting to have Blake tell us that, I think the second line with Pettersson, DeBrusk, and Sprong is going to be great. And it's like, second line, this guy's getting paid $11.6 million, man. In other words, the Canucks are kind of stacked, man. Yeah. They're kind of stacked.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I'll give you my quick Pettersson projection. I got him for 39 goals, 52 assists, 91 points. I think what we saw when he got 100 points, that's probably ceiling Pettersson. That was based off of a lot of efficiency, like way too much. So that might be the outlier. But this he's a legitimate superstar to me in this league. And he could hit that again, and that would not surprise me. So yeah, I mean, but in terms of what you're saying about with Tocchet there, I'm pretty excited. One thing that I love about Tocchet is his ability to adapt and also to recognize he knows what he doesn't know, right? And he's willing to learn, because last year in the playoffs, we beat Nashville, but with the lowest shot total of any team ever. I mean, you can't win that way, right? And one thing the Canucks did last year it worked in season, but teams figured it out in the playoffs, is they're great in zone. They're not generating a damn thing off the rush. Right. And they have to find a way to get offense off the rush. And I think, like, I've read about Tocchet, they're doing like coaching symposiums and this and that. I think we're going to see a changed team here. They're going to adapt, and we're going to see a little bit more offense. I think he's going to let the leash out a little bit on the structure, and that could equal big time production for Pettersson in particular.
Yeah. I feel it, man. I feel it.
Damn Skippy.
Yeah, it's interesting that you said 100-point ceiling for Pettersson, because I call me crazy.
I know you love him. Yeah,
that this guy can get to that 110 range. I'm a big believer in Pettersson, and he is. When he was at 100 points, he was one of the most efficient players in the NHL. But he's been one of the most efficient players in the NHL throughout his damn career. And now you put him with some actual line mates and DeBrusk, maybe even Boeser or Sprong or Höglander. I think it's a combination for Pettersson to really hit on that potential and prove the doubters wrong. Blake, you don't got to prove anyone wrong, man. You are the creamiest and dreamiest of all time, buddy. Go plug yourself, and while I tuck my legs here.
Well, thanks, buddy. Yeah, I would love to see that, Pettersson. I'm here for it. This guy's amazing. But yeah, thanks so much for having me, boys. Really appreciate it. Check me out on Twitter /X at Blake Creamer AG. That's where I'm bringing the tweet heat. All right, much like these boys right here. And then also, while I got you, Apples and Ginos, we worked really hard this summer, and we released a fantasy hockey draft guide. So that is available as a standalone purchase over at the Apples and Ginos Patreon. So get your biscuits over there. It's like 141 pages. Dude, this is what I did with my summer. I had time off. I was talking to Trevor before we recorded here, and that's all I did all summer. I wrote articles, I podcast. This has been a full-time job, but we're really proud of that document. So definitely check it out if you like winning. All right. And then also, you got to stick with these boys here at Locked On Canucks. Oh my God, a couple of legends. So yeah, appreciate you guys. And thanks for getting the biz on the regular.
getting to biz. And I'm getting that guy, man. My draft's coming up. Let's go.
Oh yeah. I'll give you one pro bono, both you guys. There you go.
Okay. Oh wow, that's effing beautiful, man. I love that. There was this like random idea that I had about fantasy hockey, but maybe we'll talk about this down the road because I want to get you back. So I'm gonna save this idea that I had. I know Trevor's heard about this idea from me many times when it comes to fantasy hockey and the future of fantasy hockey. But again, I kind of want to save it so you and I, during like maybe the international break that's coming up this year,
Nice.
we can like fill some airtime with the future of fantasy hockey. But yeah, Blake, thanks so much. One love to you. You're the man. Subscribe to everything he's doing and go Canucks go. Let's have some fun this year. Again, one love.
Your Locked On Canucks, your daily podcast on the Vancouver Canucks, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.